Are you ready to be entertained? Well, I'm ready to entertain you. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Worth, episode 151, May 24th, 2022. And the reason I'm going to entertain you is because today we'll be talking about a comedian exploring the history of comedy, Mr. Cedric the Entertainer, one of the greatest entertainers of all time, as claimed in his title. Today's episode is brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. For the spicy, sweet, savory taste at game time, go to www.gvegas.webs.com. Put the whamma jam in your mouth, baby. We're getting close to shooting the commercial with G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. So by 2023, everybody's going to be walking around going whamma jamma. You're going to be wondering why? Because it's because of G Vegas Buffalo Sauce, which is about to take off. I don't know if Cedric the Entertainer likes a buffalo sauce, but hey, why not? Chicken wings, chicken fingers, buffalo mac and cheese. Oh, you can put pretty much buffalo sauce on an egg. Eggs. You can make eggs in the morning and literally put some buffalo sauce on some eggs. And I'm sure Cedric would be down with trying that out. Why not? And if you're going to try it with the best. You go green, you go fresh, you get some G Vegas. Cedric the Entertainer, man. You ever wonder what his real name was? Because this is the first thing I wonder. What they done? Nobody names a kid Cedric the Entertainer. Obviously, that's a stage name. Cedric Antonio Kyles. That's his real name. If you ever wondered, stage name Cedric the Entertainer. Which cool stage name. It's catchy. It's memorable. You got to go with that. Let's see, he hosted BET's Comic View from 93 to 94 and Def Comedy Jam in 1995, which were some of the bigger underground comedy shows, man. If you were into comedy and you were seeking comedy to see some stand-up on TV, those are the shows you were staying up late night to watch right there. Co-stars Steve Hadley and WB's sitcom Steve Hadley Show. One of the original kings of comedy, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Part of the Barbershop movie franchise, which is where I personally know him from. I thought that was a very well put together franchise. Let's see. Hosted the 12th season of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the daytime edition, and I guess after a year that he decided he was going to work on his other comedy stuff and left, but he did do it for a year, which was one of the more popular game shows at the time. Part of TV Land's Soul Man. And said this before, voice work, man, you can never get enough of that, man. When they're paying just to hear your voice, that's when you get residual incomes. That's when you're getting paid for work you've already done. And that's when the money keeps rolling in. I love that, okay? Because, you can work for your money, okay? But when you keep getting money for work you've already done now, that's what it's all about, voice work, baby. He was in Ice Age. He was in Madagascar. Planes and Planes, Charlotte's Web, and Fire and Rescue. So I've done a lot of voice work, and I got a voice work project coming up. I can't tell you guys about it yet. It's on the QT, but once we wrap up the podcast, which knows when that'll be, but my next project can be some serious voice work stuff, and very much looking forward to that. Maybe I may start it while I'm doing the podcast. Who knows? But having fun with the podcast, man. I told you, episode 150, man. Brought on Jimmy Schubert, one of the biggest working comedians in the nation right now, and he came on Funny Like Clown podcast. You know why? Because we are the number 1 comedy podcast in New England, and soon to be, who knows? We'll go from there. I mean, I don't know if I can go worldwide like Joe Rogan or not, but hey, if you're coming to New England, baby, this is where you want to be, man, because you'll sell out some shows in New England by coming on my podcast. Let's see. It was on the CBS sitcom The Neighborhood. So, you start hitting the major television networks. That's when you're stepping up. Cedric the Entertainer is doing that. Receives a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I see now, man, Hollywood, I guess they call it what, Skid Row's really expanded itself. And it's like, you can't even, like in some parts, you can't even go out and try to see, like, if you wanted to go, I'm not saying his particular, but if you want to go out and see somebody's like Hollywood Star of Fame, someone's like pitched a tent on there and they're living there because everybody's living on the streets. Nobody can afford to live in LA. So it's like, be careful going out looking for your favorite comedian's star on the Walk of Fame. You might end up getting mugged by a homeless person. It's getting that bad out there. And I heard the senators passed some law. They got to clean it up. It's just getting worse and worse where people going to the bathroom in the middle of the streets because there's nowhere to go. And it's just really getting nasty. And I had friends from Alaska. They went out there sightseeing. They said they were there for a day. They had to leave. It was so disgusting. It's turning into like a third world, poverty-stricken place, and it's supposed to be this nice tourist attraction, which they're taking away from that. Let's see. 1995, when he was just getting started out, he got the role of the Cowardly Lion at the Apollo Theater, which, if you know the Apollo, that's one of the big places to bring up some comics. So just getting your foot in the door there is something to behold. Let's see, became the subject. That's what I found interesting. Okay, because he became the subject of controversy. Okay, when his barbershop character made some unpopular remarks about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, which obviously Martin Luther King, one of the biggest names in black rights, and Rosa Parks, she was the one who got famous for not giving up her seat to a white person on a bus, and he never apologized for it. He said it was part of the script. I read the script. I mean, he didn't write the script. He gets hired to, act in this movie. So could he have said no? He could have read it and said, hey, I really don't want to read this, and got thrown off. But I mean, hey, he's a working comic. You're paying to get work, And I actually had this happen to me because I was doing really good at comedy. And I guess any comedian's dream, what are the ultimate comedians go on? They go on to make the legendary movies like Belushi and Animal House, or Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack, or I mean, a comedian's always got that one great movie that they put out there to go back on. So I did want to try acting, and my first acting gig, I get cast in a short film called A Christmas Story, sort of. Okay, and it was about this drug addict Jewish family, and at the end, it was like, they showed like a menorah and the little, I don't know what they call it, the little beanie that the Jewish people put on their head there or whatever. And I did. It was like, I was my first acting gig, and it's like, who am I to speak up? These people, I'm working with these people, been doing acting forever, and I'm the new guy on the block, so who am I to say anything? But finally, toward the end of it, everybody's kind of loosening up. We were shooting the shit, and I was like, isn't this kind of offensive toward Jewish people? Because I thought it was getting offensive toward the Jewish people. I was worried about that, but who was I to say anything? But I did speak up, and the director said, well, I'm Jewish and I'm not offended by it. So I said, well, if he's Jewish and he's not offended, then who the hell am I saying anything? So I did I did end up doing it. But I mean, I can relate to have one of those moments where, you're getting paid to do something, but you're not sure if you should be doing it because it's a little bit too controversial. It's going to catch up with you later. So it's kind of it's an iffy moment, whether you go with the flow and do it, or whether you stand up, make a scene, and walk out. And so I can see exactly why he never apologized to him. It wasn't his thing. He didn't write the script. He was hired to do something, went in, and he did it. So good for him. And A Christmas Story, sort of, it did. It went on to get very good reviews, and it did better than I thought it would. So apparently nobody was offended by it. It was well received, but it could have easily just backfired on me like it did Cedric the Entertainer. That backfired on him getting controversy out of something he didn't write. So be careful what you do in this business. But I'll say, you do so much, it's tough to keep everybody happy. I've been a big proponent of that. Nowadays, everybody's getting offended by anything. And I'm like, you know what? I do what I do. If you're offended by it, it's on you, not me. Okay. Because I'm not meaning it offensive. If you're taking it that way, then that's your problem, not mine. You can't please everybody in life. You're going to figure that out real soon. So be you, do your thing. If somebody's offended, it's their problem, not yours. Here's another one. He became part owner in a Champ Car auto racing series. I always wondered, if you hit it big and you made a lot of money, like what would you want to invest in? What would you want to be a part of? And I guess he must have been interested in race cars. And hey, why not? It's cool. I know. NASCAR, they had all kinds of sponsors. They put maybe your company right across their hood if you donate some money and stuff. And it's cool to say you're part of the team. And I just started playing the stock market recently, and goes up and down, but I can say, hey, I own stock in Disney. I own stock in Nike sneakers. I mean, it's just cool to say that, whether I'm making money, I mean, making a little bit of money, it goes up, goes down. I don't know, but it's cool just to be able to fulfill that dream of being part of those great franchises if you do get some money. So that's a cool thing. Good for Cedric the Entertainer, making his dreams come true right there, baby. Let's see. While he was acting, he continued to do stand up, which a lot of people, some when they hit the big acting thing, they forget about stand up. Like Eddie Murphy. I mean, he was so big in the movies that he didn't have time to do stand up. He was doing movie after movie, and years later, everybody wants him to come back and give back to stand up. And he said, stand up was a stepping stone to get to do movies, which is what I wanted to do. Where, George Carlin, I mean, he did more specials than I think any comedian on HBO. and did it till the day he died, because that's your true love, is just getting up there and making. You want to be remembered for the movies because that lives on after you die. But there's nothing like a live crowd. Okay, there's no take two, take three in freaking comedy, man. It's you either nail it or you move on to the next joke. Okay, you don't get no second chances. There's nothing like the energy of a live crowd, you know. So continue with the original Kings of Comedy, which were Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, Bernie Mac, and himself, Cedric the Entertainer. Later, Spike Lee decided to make it into a film, which really brought it to a next level. The original Kings of Comedy now is a movie, so that's got to help ticket sales right there, I would assume. Put out a book, Grown Ass Man. And this is a newer one. Not that, I mean, video games have been around, since Pac-Man and all that, but I guess it's new to the video game world where they're having, big stars partake in these things. He was in the video game Tiger Woods PGA Tour. And, I think it's new to the game having, comedians do voices in video games. Video games have been around forever, but Pac-Man never had a voice. It was waka waka waka, I mean, to actually put live voices in, I think that's a cool next thing. I mean, it's more work. Anything that's more work in comedy, that's a cool thing. Let's see. Put out his own comedy special on HBO, Taking You Higher. Was part of two multi-platinum albums, which he donated some comedy work to, like some musical artist albums. Nelly's Country Grammar and Jay-Z's Black album. So I mean, if you're doing comedy on two albums doing platinum, that's not a bad thing to have your name on right there. Did some TV work. Some of my favorites that I picked out I thought were more popular. Two Broke Girls. He was in that series. Hot in Cleveland. That was another one. Betty White was on that, and Valerie Bertinelli. So that was one of my underground TV shows that I did like. Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which I love that, man. As far as just comedians being on a game show and they get their whole panel of just comedians, kind of reminds me of Hollywood Squares where you'd have a comedian in each square. Well, this is like the new version of the game show. So all the big time comics that don't want to see it, I love to be on that. Some of the films, like I said, Barbershop and all that, we've known him from. Some of the films you might not have known him from. Codename The Cleaner, Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, Street Kings. Had smaller roles in Big Mama's House, The Honeymooners, and Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, which I did take my kid to go see when he was younger, and I kind of thought it was creepy. I was an adult, I thought it was creepy, and the kids were loving it. So apparently, I'm getting more creeped out than the kids. I remember. Yeah, it was definitely a movie to remember, man. Those kids couldn't catch a break. Who was it? Jim Carrey played the lead in that one, and Jim Carrey's another one. He says he's given enough back. He's done enough movies, given enough to the world that he's probably not going to be doing any more movies. So you can only do so much to give back. Where Eddie Murphy, he's still pumping out movies even after years of success, I guess. I don't know. Some people grow to love it and they want it's all you want to do, and other people say, "Hey, I've done it enough. It's time to break away." Me, I love comedy. I want to have comedy balls out for about 13, 14 years. Then the pandemic hit, and I couldn't wait for it to get over. And pandemic's pretty much over, and for whatever reason, I haven't really got back into stand up, but did put out my own movie, so I have been keeping busy, just in a different field in comedy. So I got that one great movie to fall back on now, not just Rodney Dangerfield, not just Jim Belushi. See, Rodney Dangerfield's got Caddyshack, Jim Belushi's got Animal House, Dennis Worth has The World Needs a New Superhero. So you go check that out. There'll be a surprise in there for you. I'm going to tell you later on what the surprise is, okay? Later on at the end of the podcast, I'll tell you what the surprise you're going to see in The World Needs a New Superhero. Let's see, 2009, special guest on WWE Raw, which, wrestling, they bring in a lot of big stars. I forget the guy's name he played. Hugh Jackman, I do remember his name. He played Wolverine there. I remember they brought him on and he was doing some jokes or playing to the crowd where, wrestling used to be, it was mostly about the wrestling. Now there's like about 10 minutes of talking to the crowd and hyping them up, about 2 minutes of wrestling. I think it's more of a show now than it's actually wrestling. But 2010, finally he made his directorial debut because, Cedric the Entertainer's got it because you can take direction from somebody for so long, and at the end of the day, you're itching to do it yourself. You want to put where you're in control, you're in charge. Ron Howard, one of the greatest directors, in the business. got his name on some huge, huge movies. And he said, he was on Happy Days. He played, Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. If you're old like me, one of the biggest sitcoms on television of all time, maybe the biggest. And they said, why would you leave such a successful franchise like that? And he said, well, when you're an actor, you get told what to do and it's fun. But he said he figured out the director. Okay, now he gets to play around with the sound. He gets to play around with the camera. He gets to play around he gets to play with everything. Where when you're an actor, all you get to do is act. If you're the director, you get to stick your hand in a little bit of everything. So there's nothing like being in charge. And yeah, that's a cool thing. So made his directorial debut. Look for it. Cedric the Entertainer's Dance Foo. Maybe you already seen it. Did some work on Broadway too, which I guess even Mark Hamill, he was in Star Wars, and he could have went on to be the next Harrison Ford, did movies like him. But he said his first love was Broadway, man. And Mark Hamill, after Star Wars, he went back to Broadway instead of making movies. Some people's love is, like I said, it's that live theater, it's that live atmosphere, and you can put out a movie, but there ain't much of a live show. It's they like it or they don't. Where stand up, that live audience, nothing like it. But Cedric the Entertainer appeared on Broadway in American Buffalo. Let's see, what's he doing now? 2011, he got his own game show, It's Worth What? And let's see, I guess that's his own game show where he's the host of that. And I said later I'd tell you what's the surprise in my movie. So if you go to Vimeo on Demand, okay, which is a website, you can see my movie, The World Needs a New Superhero. And who did a cameo in my movie? I'll tell you who. Cedric the Entertainer. So the guy we're doing a podcast is in my movie as a small cameo at the end, but hey, he's in it. And see what he's got to say, man, about the superhero world. And it's more about family law and child support and parental alienation. And you can get at the end, I got a bunch of stars who give their opinion, a little bit on the crazy world of children need both parents equally, and I try to bring that out. In The World Needs a New Superhero. So look for stars like him and a bunch of other stars, man. You're gonna love it. And like I said, everybody thinks, oh man, I could never be Cedric the Entertainer, man. He's a big star. I could never do that, man. Okay, well, let me tell you, here's a couple of jobs he had before he became Cedric the Entertainer. He worked at an insurance company as a claim adjuster, and he was a substitute teacher at a high school. Okay, so he started out regular, just like me and you. So don't ever think you can't be the next big star, because all the big stars, they started out just regular people like us. And everybody said, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a big star like that? Well, there's no reason you can't be. Okay, doors open. This is America. Go do what you want. I always said, it's a good thing to give back, man. Once God's gracious enough to gift you with becoming a big star, it's not just a thing you should do. It's a responsibility that you should give back. He runs Cedric the Entertainer Charitable Foundations. Their motto is reaching out and giving back. And I know he has, what do they call them? High school grants or whatever that he gives to students that exceed there to help them out, when they go on into the real world. So catch out Cedric the Entertainer, man. Great barbershop. I saw the whole series, man. He amazing actor in that. He's in my movie, The World Needs a New Superhero, and game show host, legendary comedian, the kings of comedy. I mean, what else could you ask for this guy in his comedy career? Probably not much, man. And that's how you become a star. Hey, you can go be a star. Be a star at work tomorrow. Tell somebody a joke and make them laugh, because it's a fun thing to make people laugh. Trust me. It's a lot. They say it's a lot easier to bring someone down than it is to bring them up. You can put someone down. That don't take a strong person. It takes a strong person to bring someone up. Go put some laughter into somebody's life tomorrow. Till then, we'll catch you next time on Funny Like Clown Podcast. We're exploring the history of comedy. Me and you, baby. Good night.